Okay, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. First, happy holidays. It's December 26th, 2025, and you have joined a LinkedIn Live handling those awkward silences during facilitation. So, welcome. That's our topic today. Of course, you know I talk about transformative facilitation and how we can handle ourselves better in those spaces to help create greater opportunities for our participants to experience their own transformation. So let's jump in. This is only going to last about 15 minutes, plus or minus. So hopefully this is useful and helpful for you. So the question we're focusing in on is how should I handle awkward silences during facilitation? Now, if you instructing, you're transitioning to more of a leadership development facilitation model, you have been in the moment where you've been in front of the room and things go quiet and you feel that shift. And inside yourself, that can be a bodily sensation. You can feel anxiety, your chest tighten, maybe your shoulders. For me, my face can turn beet red, and I can feel heat on my face at the same time. Now, when you experience those moments of freezing or of silence, oftentimes we can jump from that physical sensation to an urge to explain ourselves again. Maybe we can feel the pressure to land the plane of our conversation and the feeling that maybe you're even losing the room. So I want to welcome you to a reframe in this, that those awkward silences aren't necessarily a facilitation failure, but it's often an interpretation problem. What do I mean by that? In those moments where we feel that pressure to jump in, often that pressure to jump in and to solve the problem is some belief going on within ourselves. So we're going to go into some reframes, some perspectives on that to kind of help you get a more holistic picture of what might be going in that unique micro moment of awkward silence. So what we might often assume, some of those assumptions going on within us might be that they didn't get it. Maybe I asked it wrong or I asked the wrong question, or maybe they're struggling and I need to jump in and save them. And what this assumption produces, or these assumptions produce, is that we're going to go into over explaining, that we might feel that we might need to rescue them from thinking because something might not be right and we need to jump in and solve the problem for them. And we call that rescuing. Okay, we can often feel the need to jump in and rescue them. Maybe we feel like we're rescuing ourselves a little bit in the moment too, and that all of that really is us doing the cognitive work for the group. Now, is it possible your question didn't land? Is it possible you could reframe the question? Yeah, all those things are possible. But at the same time, we typically jump into, oh, it's our fault, as opposed to it's a bigger thing at play in the group. So what could actually be happening? And here's a big reframe. Because those awkward silences, they might not be you. It might be something else going on in the group that might need to be addressed. Okay. Sometimes people are sorting through information for the relevance. Sometimes they're just translating what's being discussed into their context. Maybe some of them are deciding whether or not it's safe to speak. And maybe they just don't know what question to ask yet because they're working through their own process as well. So I'm not saying that this is always true, but what I'm saying is you could be misreading the silence. And I'll give you an example that was purely me. Okay. I was in front of a group of senior executives. This was with my work with the federal government. I was probably, for some of them, 30 years younger than many of them. I was definitely the youngest one in the room. And it was early in the facilitation. We had just started. And for some reason, in a moment I was up there, the room was quiet. And I internalized just for a moment that why would they listen to me? What did they have to learn from me? They had so much more life experience. And all that happened, all those thoughts happened in an instant. And my body posture immediately changed. And my face got probably a little bit red. And it changed so quickly that from the moment that I started feeling that way, a person in the front of the room asked me, "Are you okay?" And I took a deep breath And I moved on. I said, I don't know what happened in that moment. I forgot about it. But here's the thing. And all my posts this week have been around this question. That's when the room goes quiet, what story am I telling myself? And how is that story shaping what I do next? I'll say it again. When the room goes quiet, what story am I telling myself? And how is that story shaping what I do next? Because oftentimes we'll get into our feelings in that moment, or we'll feel the need to jump in and rescue, and we'll do it. There won't be a pause there for us to make a different decision. And that's what my time here, that's what I'm hoping that you get out of this time. And here's another thing to remember is that in this, I ground myself in this for every session. And that's everyone. In every session you facilitate wants it to go well. Everyone in every session wants it to go well. And they want to walk away with something helpful. So oftentimes we use the language that, you know what, they're on our side. But I want you to flip that. And I want you to think about it as you are on their side. You're on their side. Assume positive intent from them. And remember that, I would venture to guess, and I could be wrong here, but I'm going to venture to guess that whatever you're presenting, whatever you're walking them through, you probably didn't create. I know the vast majority of things that I share and that I facilitate for, I didn't create. It's not mine, but sometimes we can fuse what we do and who we are. So I've taught many difficult concepts, motivation, adaptive leadership, and these are wonderful things. But when I get up there early on, I would interpret a pushback about the concept to not be about the concept, but a pushback about me and who I am in my facilitation. So be on their side. And when I say that, a little bit more, what I mean there is you're helping them navigate these complexities, the concepts, maybe it's the complexities in the room. You're on their side. Be on their side and let them know, hey, I'm here to support you. You are why I am here today. So try in the idea that many awkward silences aren't awkward because of what you did or didn't do. They're awkward because somewhere inside you, as a facilitator, there's something else going on. Maybe it's uncertainty about the material. Maybe it's uncertainty about who you see yourself to be. Maybe it's conflating yourself and the material as being one. Or maybe it's just you're new to it. And that's okay too. Because the more you do it, the more this will get easier. But I've seen even expert, and I've been guilty of this too. Expert facilitators been doing it for 20, 30 years, who in a moment of uncertainty, being in front of the room and that awkward silence hits, instead of turning it over and giving the work back to them, they'll rescue. So I want to explore these three questions and allow whatever comes to mind to be of use to you. So the first one is, in those moments of silence, what story do you tend to tell yourself when silence appears? What story do you tend to tell yourself when silence appears? The next question. Often we jump in, we jump from that second of silence to deciding what that silence means. So notice how quick that happens for you. Next time you're in front of a room and you notice the silence, be curious, how fast does it go from silence to that story? Then the next thing to notice is how often do you jump from that story to action without even exploring the silence, without even being curious about what that silence means to the folks you're supporting, to the folks you're serving. So again, remember that that moment of action that we take can oftentimes be taken away from the transformation that we're offering to the group. And here's something I wish so deeply I knew sooner, is that when we rescue silence, we're training participants to wait for us to rescue them. We're training them that we will save them from a silence. And maybe the awkward silence is about them and not about us at all. And that when we fill that space, we're actually teaching dependence. We're teaching them to depend on us to save them. And when we let silence truly breathe, we're redistributing ownership of the facilitation to everyone in the room and not just to us. Because when you're trying to facilitate transformation, you can't go in and conduct a little brain surgery, open up their skulls, and connect neurons for ideas. That's not in your control. I hope you never try it. So the transformation that happens within everyone's minds, that's up to them. You don't control that. And don't pretend that you do. Don't put all that pressure on yourself because it's too much to handle. So keep in mind to give the work back to them in one of those awkward silences. And I'll give you a couple solutions to that, a couple easy practices. And the first one, honestly, is one of my favorites. So just name, hey, I'm sensing that we might need a silent reflection. So I'm going to give you all a moment to think about the question I'm about to share. I want you to jot down some notes about it. And this is a technique I'm sharing. You could do this if you want, but this is a technique. Name that you're going to do some silent reflection and ask a reflection. And then you could even give them a chance to pair share. So you're giving them a chance to work through whatever was going on for them. So here's a beautiful question that you could use at any awkward silence. So given what we've talked about so far, what is resonating most with you? Given how much we've talked about so far, what is resonating with you? Or you could just take that silence and just be upfront and just hit the pause button and say, hey, I just want to check in. How are things going for you? Or maybe, did that question make sense? Do you want me to rephrase that question? Because remember, you're on their side. You're on their side here and letting them know that. Hit the pause button. And sometimes you'll hear an answer that you had no idea was coming up regularly in sessions, especially if the longer I'm with them. I'll just say, hey folks, like I'm not in your minds. I just want to get a sense of how this is working for you all. So I'm curious, what is going on for all of you in these seats? Help me understand your perspective. And that might seem weird the first couple times, but getting those insights from them, getting those perspectives for them could illuminate something that you had no idea was going on. And oftentimes it's not necessarily about you. Maybe it's like, hey, we had a late program the night before and things went long and we're on the struggle bus this morning. It's okay. And maybe you need to shift into an activity in that moment and say, hey, let's get some blood flowing. Let's stand up. Let's take a break. Send them out of the room. Tell them to drink some water. Whatever it is. Be curious about their experience. And that will do such wonders for you because so often we don't even ask that question as a facilitator. And you might invite them to notice that the next time silence appears, and if there's something going on that you don't know about, ask them to tell you. Now, for all of you as facilitators, so let's take a step forward and I'm going to start moving to close here. Next time silence appears, be curious about that story that you tell yourself and what is that impulse that follows. And honestly, this might be so new to you that you might just be jumping in and rescuing. And that's okay too, because this stuff takes time. But notice when that rescuing is about your inner voice and not them. And sometimes it's you asked a question in a way that they didn't understand, you need to reframe. And that's okay too. Being curious will help that. So during your next silence, be curious. Ask yourself what might be happening in the room before you need to do anything. I'll say it again. During that next awkward silence, or just silence in general, ask yourself what might be happening in this room right now. And acknowledge that you might not need to do anything with that. So, folks, I hope this was helpful. Again, we're talking about awkward silence, and it happens, and it's okay, and you will survive. And even now, having been doing this for, God, 15 years now, I still have those moments too. So remember, silence doesn't necessarily need fixing. Just being calm in that moment. Oh, I didn't even talk about this yet. Being calm in those moments can be the facilitation skill you need in those moments. Now, remember what I said before? I'll give a little tidbit here, is that be on their side. They're looking to you oftentimes, and this could be based on their developmental diversity as well, which if you all want, I can do more on. But sometimes they just need to know that you're the rock in the room that they can rely on. And in those moments, just acknowledging the silence, just saying, hey, I know we're being quiet right now, and that's okay. I'm here to support you all. How they're thinking about this situation, this is the next one, how they're thinking about this situation could have a huge impact, but you don't know how they're thinking about the situation until you ask. So sometimes being curious about it can be helpful. But know that you might hear something sometimes that might be a little difficult here too. And that's okay because this is just a random, the weird situation we're in as facilitators to participants. And it's a role situation. But as long as you put yourself in a place where you're on their side, it can be easier to hear. And sometimes that calmness in the room, just being silent yourself, that can just be you and holding your position of authority in the space. So I hope this has been helpful. I wish you the best. If you need anything from me or you have a facilitation question pop up, you know where to find me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, uh, Instagram, or my email. I'll put it in the notes when I upload this for those who miss it. So thank you, everybody. And I'll take questions now, but before I jump into questions, I'm going to end this now. Join us next week. We'll see you later. Happy holidays. Have a great new year, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Okay, now questions.